I'm back. That's right. I was gone for a minute, and here I am back. I'm gonna close out some things real quick. How do I... Let's just add an image. Wait screen. Let's just add a... Technical. Please wait. Just make that nice green. Dump that with a nice purple. Ooh, beautiful. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Get all that in there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, get all those in there. Perfect. Save. Tech. Oh, well, that's... That looks perfect. I love that. And look, I've got one whole viewer viewing my technical difficulties. Stay tuned, humble listener. I'm simply just closing out many applications I have open so as to optimize the performance of my computer at this time. So, you're not missing much. It's coming though. Oh, it's coming. I do not even, you know what? I don't even need to get rid of that. Get out of here. Alright. We are good now. We are good to go. With the magic of editing, here we are at the editing part. Woo, we made it. Oh, I never thought we'd get here. Alright, so picking up where we left off last night. Last night I got about 58% through the actual portioning off of, you know, what's worth keeping, what's not worth keeping. I thought about maybe finishing this off and then kind of diving into the next part in my spare time, but I don't have a lot of that, so I didn't do that. So we're going to do it here. So, just as a quick refresher for me and for you, let's see if this last conversation...
Which would be like, oh, they disagree with him, that must mean they're the bad guys. It's like...
Okay, that's where we left off. Alright, and then we could just jump right here. Let's kind of figure out...
Yeah, I mean...
We're still figuring out what's worth keeping, what's not. We're not removing anything specifically yet, and we're not actually really spending all that time, all that much time cleaning it up. You know, we're not going to be tightening up too many sentences, except for when I feel like it, on now and again. But we're just kind of figuring out what's...
Family that cares about him. He also has a very abnormal and different life for his world.
Mm-hmm.
People don't see things like this. I guess not much anywhere, but he is cared for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting back to that. The others in town thought Liren spent too much time with books and sick people, and that made him strange.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So recap for you and for me. We're in the second half of the podcast in terms of, you know, the first half was the literal chapter 1, and then this chapter is chapter 10. So we're just kind of picking up from chapter 10, and this is one of those scenes with Liren and with Cal.
The others in town thought Liren spent too much time with books and sick people, and that made him strange. They were uncomfortable around him, and with Cal by association. Cal was only just beginning to realize how painful it could be, or could feel, to be different. And I think this is...
Okay, so that's a nice little excerpt from the book. So it's not a huge section. It doesn't really need to be split out necessarily, but this is so I don't forget, because I like to make sure that I tweak with the spacing of the lines just to make sure it flows a little bit better. So We'll just have that there for us for later.
A huge part in Kaladin underlying character struggles with depression and stuff, where he always kind of feels like the lone survivor, the other, the outside.
Okay, so that's still relevant conversation.
Something else besides just that, right? They need to feel part of a larger tribe than just their immediate family.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So you can see his mode of thinking, like his life goals are kind of locked in. Because he's like, I'm not squeamish anymore seeing this mangled ham.
Yeah, he's probably not wrong.
Okay, so it looks like there's a bit of dead area after here, so this might be a break point for that conversation, but let's see where it leads.
So they...
Another.
Oh, see?
Sorry, go ahead, Cody.
They both had an idea. So let's go ahead and get rid of that empty space there. And then, since Cody's the one that's going to be talking.
Just, so they're going through the procedure here, and they're going through...
Okay, so we can just... Let's see what he says here again.
Another.
Okay. Get rid of Murtaugh's lines here. We're just going to tighten this up. Like I said, I'm tightening up where I feel like tightening up, especially if it's something I think is probably going to stay. I try not to waste too much time editing or cleaning up things that end up getting cut. I said that a lot yesterday. I'm going to say it a lot today. So if I feel like a section that I'm currently reviewing is likely to stay in, you'll probably see me make minor tweaks like that. It's just to save me a little bit of time down the line.
They will need to amputate the finger, and his father's proud of him for making that accurate call. And
I just realized this is partially cut off, isn't it? There we go.
We'll need to amputate the finger, and his father's proud of him for making that thinking, I guess gonna be a great surgeon, and Kaladin is thinking, I'm gonna be a great soldier, and just completely different trains of thoughts throughout this whole interaction.
Yeah, I believe those separate trains of thought run for years more until they're kind of brought out in the open.
Get rid of that dead bit of air right there. Sounds like they might continue this conversation, so
Another important quandary that's laid down in this chapter for Cal is, let me read this. Lyran says, "It is good to care."
okay, so it sounds like it's a tangentially related idea, but it might be a slightly different topic, so let's put a little split there just so I can note that.
While Lyran's talking about surgery there, that becomes a whole...
Oh, I think that was actually a read-in.
"It is good to care," Lyran said, "but caring, like anything else, can be a problem if it interferes with your ability to perform surgery." While Lyran's talking about surgery there, that becomes a whole more worldwide issue for Cal. He can't turn off his constant stream of empathy. He can't not care. Even when he's killing people. And that becomes important to him, but he's not like Lyran.
Yeah. And this is like another, I feel like, example with the writing of a classic quintessential like parent.
Let's get rid of that background noise real quick, and this wasn't anything. Keep going. Get rid of this real quick as well.
Lyran gives him this word of wisdom, this advice. It's good to care, but you have to, for your own good, and in this case, he's very focused on the surgery part. But you have to have a balance there. You can't
just clean up some of this as well, just to help it flow a little bit nicer. And just to reiterate, this is technically still my first listen through of this, and what I tend to do is I'll listen to this independently. I'd listen to it all in one go, without making the edits and stuff I'm doing right now. This is kind of a faster form of editing I've kind of developed over the weeks or months of editing, where I can make minor tweaks now and again because I have a bit of an instinct about what I'm likely to keep. So good practice for starting out editing is to still give it a full listen through without even doing the minor edits that I'm doing now, and then do this kind of step, because it helps you kind of anticipate a bit more what the needs of the editing is.
For your own good, and in this case he's very focused on the surgery part, but you have to have a balance there. You can't care so much it inhibits your ability to perform, or but Kaladin's response, he's like, caring too much can be a problem, but you're so selfless, you never charge for your work, so we're poor. But so he immediately like, oh, this is advice coming from you. He has issues, disregards it, but it almost mirrors exactly what the advice he
Just get that. He's got a good flow on. I don't want to interrupt him.
The advice he gets when he goes to train, when he joins the army, and his name is escaping me. His sergeant who trains him, Tuck. Tuck says almost
Don't worry, Cody. No one ever has to know that you didn't realize
his
what
name
his
is
was.
And
There we go. Just up to here.
Tuck says almost the exact same thing. It's it's like, it's good to care, but you can't let it overwhelm you. But you also you have to care, because if you don't care and you try to numb yourself, you'll hate who you become. But
Just tighten up Cody's monologue because it's so good.
let it overwhelm you. But you also you have to care, because if you don't care and you try to numb yourself, you'll hate who you become. But you also can't care so much.
Get rid of that there. He looks like he'll have a good response.
Can't care so much it inhibits you. And Kaladin takes that advice. It's like, when there's so many times where our parents will give us a life advice and we're like, yeah, you're my parent, you don't know what you're talking about. But then someone else we respect and are
Too real, Cody. What the hell are you doing? What kind of podcast do you think this is? That is absolutely going to stay in, though. Very insightful. Very poignant.
oh, that's great
very accurate.
advice.
Right, yeah, he does take that advice, but it was already easy for Kaladin to care. He's getting that same advice to arrive at the same middle point of caring from different spectrums. Like, hey, you can't be such a cold killer out in the battlefield. Hey, you can't care too much when you're on the surgery table because you have to focus. That kind of thing. But it's arriving at the same point.
Mm-hmm.
You it's good to care, but you can't, find your equilibrium. And Kaladin can't find his equilibrium.
This is a problem I can sympathize with.
Right.
Extremely empathetic to sometimes my own emotional detriment, and you got to find that balance.
Yeah, Cody's told us a lot about how he connects a lot with Kaladin's character and character arc, so it's nice to have his insight on kind of the backstory episodes. For sure, you're going to see a lot of Cody on the backstory episodes, which is great. He knows a lot about the character.
Exactly.
Let's tighten this up.
But then from here we move into why he was late, because he shows up a couple.
Okay, so this is next topic of conversation. Where was that? Where did that start?
But then from here we
Okay, can get rid of that extra. So this is a slightly new topic, conversation shift, so we'll just put a little mark there for myself.
why he was late, because he shows up a couple minutes late to the call for so he obviously wasn't where he was supposed to be and doing what he was supposed to be doing, so he doesn't make it show up right away. And so his father is like, well, so where were you? And you're learning to beat other boys with a stick.
Yeah, he wasn't where he was supposed to be or doing what he was supposed to be doing, but at the same time, he's a 10-year-old boy, so he's doing exactly what he was.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he wasn't where he was supposed to be or doing what he was supposed to be doing, but at the same time, he's a 10-year-old boy, so he's doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing.
Get rid of that. Gross noises. Get out of there. I wonder if editing has accidentally given me that thing where you can't handle certain noises on audio, because, man. Mouth noises.
This leads into the the
Don't need that extra the
primary
primary what?
dynamic between Liren and Kaladin for the next.
That's pretty quiet. That section, Cody gets a little quiet there. Let me actually see what the peak is.
Dynamic between
peaks
Liren
around
and Kaladin for
-13. Let's just bump this tiny little section. So this is the normalize tool that we used early in the first part of yesterday's recording. Recording editing, so to speak. This was when we kind of normalized everything after we were taking care of background noise or whatever. So you could use it for the entire stream at once, or you can use it for small sections like this. And I just think that he's a little bit quiet here, so I'm just going to put the peak value at -8, and we'll see. Yep, that looks a bit nicer. I'll do that again as well right here. Alright, now let's see how that sounds.
this leads into the primary dynamic
Much better.
between Liren and Kaladin for the next
No one has to know how long that took, Cody.
12
books?
years. Yeah.
Here, this is a good moment for some creative editing. So we want the overlap there for a bit of a comedic effect to an extent, but also just because it kind of sounds like a real conversation. So we'll leave like a minor, like 0.01 of a second gap of speaking there, and then I'll just push that over a little bit here, and then
12 years, of his life, and only really just got resolved in
let me see actually.
4 books.
4 books, and then
12 years, of his life, and only really just got resolved in the end of Rhythm of War.
Oh, unfortunate. Cody didn't acknowledge his joke. Gotta go. Sorry, Mariton. Doesn't mesh with the flow. He continues his sentence and he completely ignores it. Such is the way
Next.
sometimes.
12 years, of his life, and only really
You
just
can hear some
got
smiling, but
resolved in
he doesn't
the end of-
acknowledge it, so it doesn't make sense to leave it in.
Rhythm of War. Rhythm of War to some degree, but it's he kind of getting into that black and white thinking a little bit. He kind of develops this I have only 2 options in life, and it's kind of like the character is like,
See, we're seeing him get a little quiet again, so you can see it actually consistently for this whole section. He's feeling very conspiratorial for some reason, so we're just gonna take this entire section again, redo that same normalize, just bump everything up a tiny little bit. Don't want it to be excessive.
a little bit. He kind of
And let's also just tighten this up so it sounds concise.
takes him 4 books to realize that he needs to find that balance that works for him, that he can't be either just the soldier he wants to be or just the surgeon that his father wants, that it's not just you kill or you save, there's no in between.
Right. I think that's summed up in his question to his father. Right. I think that's summed up in his question to his father right here. His question that he asked himself many times in the future. And what of those who protect and defend? The ones who save lives by taking lives. And it takes him a long time. He asked his father this.
That. Give this a little bit of separation because that's a tiny little excerpt as well.
And it takes him a long time.
Get rid of that.
He's in his 20s, early 20s before he can partially figure this out for himself. Maybe. Start to figure it out.
I don't know, intentional foreshadowing or just pure coincidence, but yeah, when he says that, his father responds, it's like trying to stop a storm by bush. And kind of did for like you.
Yeah.
Add a little bit there. us a good laugh. Gotta get a good laugh. Laughs look very strange in audio format. They always look kind of jagged like this. I didn't mean for it to stop there. Why did it stop there?
He just keeps running, right? Until he can't no more.
Alright, this looks like it could be another topic shift. Let's jump ahead.
Yeah, and I think Liren, you know,
Oh, still on
Like-
topic.
any good parent wants the best. You know,
Just tighten up this. Because this is the same conversation still. So let's bring that over here.
yeah, and I think Liren, you know, like any good parent wants the best for his son, wants his son to succeed. You know, there's been, you know, as he talks about how his grandfathers, you know, they slowly work to be able to buy them up to the second dawn and get them in this position, and then Liren was able to go, you know, to the big town nearby and learn how to be a surgeon, and you know, he wants his son to succeed even more than him and take the next step forward in life. You know, he's hoping to get him married to Wisiel, and
There was a little dog bark in the background. Sorry, dog. You're gone. Get that out of there. Don't like that.
married to Wisiel's daughter, and he wants him to go to Kharbranth and train to be a proper true surgeon, and you know, kind of see a bit of the world and be better than what he is. And he gets very tunnel vision, I think, on that, and does not, and kind of misses because of that, where Kaladin's heart really is. And very much is like, well, this is my, you know, this is the dream I have for you. You need to. Very much is like, well, this is the dream I have for you. You need to fulfill this dream. And
Bring that up.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of I think it's a combination of he wants his best life possible for his son. He wants him to be safe, and he wants to protect him. And he's also living vicariously through his son a little bit. I mean, he wants him to be what he is, but even better.
Sounds like it's bedtime in the background there. That kid does not want to go to sleep.
Yeah, and I think it, as the chapter's ending, Kaladin finishes with him agreeing with his father. Yeah, that's the better choice, being a surgeon. I'm 10. I agree with my dad.
mm-hmm. Yeah, he tells him that he tells him, yeah. Been saving for him to go to Kharbranth, and that kind of gets him excited, you know. Like Liren's line to him here: "You have a gift from the heralds themselves. You could be 10 times the surgeon I am. Don't dream the small dreams of other men."
Get you out of there.
But
Yeah.
I'd say, you know, Kaladin's dream isn't necessarily a, like, you know, I mean, at this point it is to be a soldier, but you know, I mean, at this point it is to be a soldier, but when it gets into adulthood and when he does start to become a radiant, and you know, him and his father are reunited and the headbutting continues, I mean, in many ways at that point Kaladin's dream is not a small dream. It's he wants to protect everyone.
Not small, but somewhat still unrealistic as the kid dream. I guess not when you've got magic powers. If you got magic powers, you can kind of get away with that kind of shit. Oh, that's bedtime again. Get out of there.
I mean, at that point, he still hasn't found the balance, but he has it. You know, he's refounding an order of radiance. Radiance, and he wants to protect everyone, and it's once he starts to come to terms with.
It's been good. We haven't really encountered too many tangents today. We really got focused up after that last little break that we got to delete. Oh, it was great.
Once he starts to come to terms with needing to find a balance and rhythm of war, that he then he finds his dream up. Boop, boop, boop. Helping people that have suffered mentally, and I think that's where he finally finds that dream and that balanced mission.
Alright, just shift all this over ever so slightly. Get rid of that minor talkover. Just tighten it up.
Yeah, you start to see the beginnings of what he really wants.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, boys. We're discussing a lot of rhythm of war. Let's see if they get back on topic.
What makes him feel good, which is what everyone's trying to search for in their profession, right? I'm doing good and I feel good.
Poignant.
Oh, I think that is.
Oh, sounds like the
last thoughts.
Alright. Let's get this out of here. Where they both discovered that they've reached the end of the line.
The last thoughts I have on this chapter, it's surprisingly deep.
Alright. Perfect. Just do a bit of quick work here.
Chapter. It's surprisingly deep from what I would have expected originally. I thought I would have had more to say about chapter 1 and had more notes than chapter 10, but it was the other way around.
Yeah, some deeper themes for sure in chapter 10. Deep series long themes that you're getting introduced to. Okay, so
I thought Cody was going to say he had more thoughts, but his last thought was acknowledging the fact that he had so many thoughts, and you know what? I respect that a lot.
we're good at ending podcasts.
Damn straight. Those were my exact thoughts.
I think maybe if Leia or Kevin's there right now, like maybe read the intro one more time. I think they wanted you to read the whole intro again. Like at the end of that, mention it's chapters 1 and 10 with Cody.
No, he already did that. He did that.
Okay, yeah, I can.
Did that. I guess he's done it again.
Okay. And would you want us to make that we're shooting for every 10 days release schedule? Make any?
Yeah, that's when I first told them about my idea to release an episode every 10 days as our release schedule, like a high storm.
So do the intro.
We don't actually need you to do it again.
Welcome
I'm sorry.
to return.
That was a big mistake there. You don't actually have to do it again. This is all.
Warning is in effect.
This is
We'll
all
be
gone.
discussing Way of King.
Actually, let's see if it's better than the other one.
Today we will be discussing chapter 1 and chapter 10.
Okay, so this is where it starts. All this other stuff, it's just like kind of end of the show rambling. I'll just clear that. Leave this as the potential segue to the outro. And then I'll just slice this here.
Today we will be discussing chapter 1 and Chapter 10 of Way of Kings, which are Stormblessed and Stories of Surgeon. As we begin our little focus on Kaladin's backstory from Way of King. I might redo that.
Yeah, I think that the first take was good,
I
but
thought it was good.
let's see how he does it again.
So before we wrap up, I want to make a note.
Okay, no. Okay, so he accepts it. I still think his first take was better. I don't think we need this. I'm just gonna get rid of this all. I'm just gonna connect that here.
So before we wrap up, I want to make a note of what our release schedule is going to be looking like with the podcast as we get going here. To stay on brand, we are looking at releasing every 10 days for the podcast. A little bit unusual, but we wanted to have some fun with the theme. Get our 10s in here. So we would encourage you to... Yeah. Didn't think this one through very much.
Magic of editing, Cody. It's okay. I didn't think it through either.
Subscribe. We're on iTunes now, right? Are we searchable on iTunes? So we would encourage you to...
There we go. Just get that back out of there. Subscribe.
Subscribe. We're on iTunes now, right? Are we searchable on iTunes? Okay.
I kind of like that. I might just leave it in like that. Even so, it sounds like he's talking to like us. Well, he is talking to me and Leia in the background because we were on the Zoom call, but we weren't actually recording. So, which is funny. Oops.
On iTunes. Okay. Try again. So before we go, I just wanted to...
Oh, he tries again. Oh, man. All right, maybe this is the final take.
So before we go, I just wanted to make a note of the podcast release schedule.
Yeah.
You can subscribe to us on all your favorite podcast feeds, iTunes, Spotify, whatever you normally get your podcasts on, and stay tuned.
Stay close. Oh, I'm leaving that in. I'm sorry, Cody. That's very funny. I like that.
Stay tuned for the new episodes and keep an eye out in your feeds. Thank you for joining us today.
Close.
As always, journey before destination, and we hope you'll return to Roshar with us again next time.
Oh, they didn't even do a chapter readout. I didn't know. Oh, okay. So that was actually like the full outro. Let me just see if they do a readout.
Good job.
All right.
That was a tongue twister at the end.
I like to get inside my own head and start editing my sentence while I'm speaking it.
Yeah, me too. Oh man, yeah, they didn't do a readout. That's fine, and that's
right,
not
I'm
required.
gonna
So they are setting the format tone for these backstory episodes. So I'm not going to complain. Each episode is unique, and maybe the intro outro read-ins were a specialty for the prologue episodes, but it doesn't have to continue into this. We can make it whatever we want. What were these background noises here? But look at that, we've reached the end. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. I can't believe it. We've done it. And
You'll be with us again next time.
we can just cut it all right here. This is it. So this is the pre-final cut in terms of, we've kind of sectioned everything off at this point. We've gone through what was originally an hour and like 6 or 7 minutes and some change, something like that. We've along the way trimmed out a couple of dead air sections, a bit of a long ramble or a bit of an off topic middle part as well, which was a nice 20 minutes we got to take out, which is awesome. No, it wasn't even 20 minutes, it was like only 10 minutes, but anyway, so we've kind of gotten a good handle even of how the different sections are broken up and what might or might not make the final cut. So what would I typically do at this point now? It kind of changes up every now and again. So this is kind of, I would call this at this point 65% done if I had to put like an exact percentage on it. It's got what's really, really close to being what the final product will be in terms of, the content, and now it's just about going through and finding what things are actually on topic enough, and what contribute to the discussion or what kind of falls flat or just doesn't really go anywhere and just kind of hits a dead end or interrupts. So What am I gonna do? Let me think. I know what I'll do. I'll go back right now, actually, and take their intro, their redo of this intro, because that's this section here. So I'm going to go back over, I think it was around this middle section.
Today we will be discussing.
Yep, this is it. So I made this extra audio track yesterday when I was just messing around. But I like to have an extra one now and again because it lets me do things like this. So now I've pulled out that little section. And we don't actually need the Murtaugh stuff up there either. This is just gonna all just be gone. So I can get rid of this. And then I can close this gap. And now, let's take this guy all the way back to the beginning. It's tiny, so you gotta fiddle with it. Perfect. Okay. So obviously it's a little bit longer than the original intro. So let's mute this for a second and just...
My name is Cody, and with me today is Murtaugh, and we will be going over Chapter 1.
So that he says we'll be going over Chapter 1.
We will be
right there. So I'll just take a little split there. If I go back and solo this.
Today we will be discussing Chapters 1, Stormblessed, and Chapter 10, Stories of Surgeons. I am Cody, and with me today is Murtaugh, and we are going to start off this section where we look at Kaladin, focus on his backstory and his chapters in part 1 of The Way of Kings. So that's what we will be discussing for the next couple of weeks.
Okay. So we obviously, it's a bit more descriptive than the original, but I don't actually have to worry about this split anymore because he does the intro of the podcasters as well in there. So I can get rid of that whole thing. You're gone. Similarly, what does Murtaugh say at the end of this?
Hi, this is Murtaugh.
He just introduces himself.
This is Murtaugh.
Just get this. Do a quick little.
Hi, this is Murtaugh. Chapter 1. Murtaugh.
It's a weird little trumpet sound there. Just fade that out.
Hi, this is Murtaugh. Chapter 1.
Still a little bit there. Do it again.
Hi, this is Murtaugh. Chapter 1.
Okay, so he says that hi, this is himself. So I will first, actually what I'll just do is I'll shift everything else over. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. Let's go back. Everything is slightly shifted, as you can see. Because I did the classic. Oh no, that was fine. Yeah, it'll be fine. We can just shift it over. It's fine. Actually, no, it looks like they're fine here. Yeah, I did do a delete there. Anyway, as I was saying, we're going to take all of this, and we're going to shift it ever so slightly. Yeah, we do see them off there. I'll have to move that. It's all lined up here, though. There we go. Let's go over here and find out where it gets off center. So it's right after here. That's not that big a deal. Go from here to here. And just do only up here. There we go. Perfectly realigned. Just like that. Anyway. We are remaking this intro, so let's do that. Let's find out where it would be best to have this Hiya Murtaugh.
I am Cody, and with me today is Murtaugh, and we are going to...
Right there. That's exactly where we need it. So I'm just going to move this bad boy over here a little bit. And we can split this off. Get this over here. Get you out of here. Where was that again?
Murtaugh.
There we go. It's right there. Just shift you over here. Oh, I gotta redo what I did before with that fade outs. Quick little fade in. Cheeky double fade out. Alright. Let's have it be right here. Okay. So that means we need a little bit more buffer room from Cody's words. So let's shift you over ever so slightly. And move this whole section over even more. Perfect. We still have to clean it up anyway. But so now we've effectively recreated this intro. Let's see if we can fit it in here. It doesn't like it. It's ever so slightly too big, but that's okay. Just gonna bump you up here now. Nice. We can close that gap right here. And we can cement this in its place by highlighting this empty area and generating some silence. Boom. Boom. There we go. Perfect. Oops, that's not what I want to do. That merge was good, but this merge I did not actually mean to take away. Oh, wait. What's this? Is this a split? Can't tell. Looks like a split. But it's not. Is it? Nope, it's not. Let's just resplit that right here. There we go. Very strange. Alright, cool.
Welcome.
Okay, so that's the intro. Cool. Get rid of that. Alright, cool. So now we have replaced what was originally there for the intro with an actual intro. Don't like that. Alright. Next steps. Next step probably... I probably started doing the ums and the uhs at this point, you know, in addition to making broad decisions about what's going to go and what's going to stay. But let's take tabs of what we've got. Let's kind of take a peek at our sections are. So we've got words for the intro song, literal introduction. Here's the read-in for chapter 1. Oops.
Dairymen don't kill Shard.
Yeah, I mean that's just I suppose that was a long reading for a chapter, but Sen is an important character that you get to know for a very small time. At least a Kaladin who speaks a sentence to him and remembers him for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So basically in this chapter, we've got Sen, obviously, small, terrified soldier that Kaladin has recently bought into his squad.
They're preparing for a skirmish.
Alright, so I'm going to treat this as the first section post the read-in. Because obviously that's when it literally happens, but
Ordinary men don't kill Shardbearer until about 15 minutes from now.
There's Cody's first quip of the day. Cody quip. Classic Cody quip.
Yeah, I mean that's just I guess suppose
Is that an I heard?
I guess suppose that was a long reading for a chat. Suppose that was a long. I guess suppose that was a long. I guess suppose that was a long.
Yeah.
I guess.
See how this flows.
Just I suppose that was a long reading for a chapter. Yeah, I mean that's just yeah, I suppose that was a long reading for a chapter, but Sen is an important character that you
So this is literally the next kind of bit is you really just kind of have to go through and really, when you find a section that is going to be staying in, really start cleaning it up. I'm going to
Paladin who's
and empty noise, kind of non sequitur stuff, hunting at this point.
long time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Get rid of that.
So basically in this chapter we've got Sen
Got some page turning there.
obviously. Small terrified soldier that
Gonna need an counter.
Kaladin has recently bought into his squad.
They're preparing for a skirmish with Hala, I believe is how you pronounce that if I'm remembering correctly. Who is from one of the other princedoms. I don't think we ever know.
Another mid-range Bright Lord.
How does he do that bang, like, at the peak of him saying the word? It's incredible.
Mid-range Bright Lord. Basically in a pointless skirmish, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it ever says who he, like what princedom he's from. Like what princedom he, like who he. It ever says who,
Don't need the who he there.
like what princedom he's from. If he is just also another Sadius underling or not.
Sadius on Sadius crime. When will it stop?
Underling or not.
Yeah, I believe it's deliberately left out. I mean, that's kind of emphasizes the point that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but the info we get is it's on. The info we get is Yeah, but the info we get is it's on the borders of the Sadius princedom. So yeah, we have a boy here in 15. So in many ways, this is, as we'll see later, a foreshadowing of what Kaladin's first experience was like.
Yeah.
And so we kind of can get some. We don't see it right away, but later on we'll see that this is a contrasting to from Kaladin's start to where Kaladin is 3 years later and joining the army. This is 3 years of him being in Amaram's army. And he's made it to squad leader and is recognized as the best.
Yeah, it doesn't take him long. He's a natural fighter. He's lucky. He's Stormblessed. One thing I thought was interesting, we learn later, how Kaladin thinks of...
Okay, let's actually shift this over here because this conversation
yeah,
actually
it doesn't
ends
take him
here.
long. He's a natural fighter. He's lucky. He's Stormblessed. One thing I thought was interesting...
Let's just take the split here instead. So let's see if this stays in.
One thing I thought was interesting, we learn...
I don't.
We learn later, how thought was interesting. We learn later...
That did. Let's make sure that makes sense.
One thing I thought was interesting,
It's just when I do a harsh cut like that and you get left with this like hard edge there, one thing I've been doing lately is if it's at the beginning I'll do a fade in, but if it's at the end I'll do a little fade out. It just kind of makes it look a bit more natural.
Interesting. We learn later, how Kaladin thinks of
Actually, I'll just do a hard. Nah. I'll cut the and then I'll do the fade out.
Thinks of
Get rid of that.
you know how Kaladin thinks of the kit that Amaram's army is outfitted in these.
The kit. Oh, this is when they're talking about the clothes for a bit. That's right. That's why I left this as a potential cut. Let's tighten this for a second, see if it goes anywhere.
Kit that Amaram's army is outfitted in these antiquated
Nothing wrong with those.
Outfitted in these antiquated leather, like almost like cuirasses,
Extra like.
almost like cuirasses and skirts that are
Just shift this over here a little bit.
skirts that are supposed to look like honorable. It's this image that Amaram likes to uphold of himself, but they're pretty useless. Well, and when Kaladin walks in, he's got a pair of pants on under his skirt. Like I need some more things on my legs. He's just totally utilitarian compared to him.
That's right. It all culminated in the pants.
He needs pockets.
That's a lot of extra noise there. Let's fade in. And the fade out.
Yeah, well, chapter moves on.
Okay. Pants anecdote. I don't know if you're gonna stay. Here's what I'm gonna do. This is something I typically do anyway. So I'm going to save everything I've done up to this point, because you should always save early and save often. It's just good manners. I'm also going to save another copy immediately. I'm going to redo saving this, and I'm actually going to change the naming convention from no longer work in progress to final. Because the end of this will be the final draft. So what I'm going to do now is this will be a version of what the final draft could look like. And I'm going to remove this section. And if it feels like it throws anything off, or if there's a reference to it later, or if I change my mind, I've got the work in progress version of the file as a backup. So, you know, I've capstoned everything I had done up to that point as far as, you know, fixing the intro and all that stuff and getting to the end. And now, since I'm going to be starting to make some liberal cuts to kind of bring the time down and tighten things up, if I ever decide to change my mind, I can do so. So for now, I'm just going to get rid of all of this. And we can see that obviously we have a little bit of disjointed here. Let's just line that back up again. There we go. Beautiful.
Chapter moves on.
Alright, now let's see how this flows.
The natural fighter. He's lucky. He's Stormblast. Chapter moves on. It's just
Much better.
Sen being
I like that.
terrified, wondering why anyone would pay to get him. Dalit says something like, "Oh yeah, I think you guys all remind him of someone." And obviously, we know he's thinking of Tien. A lot of people remind Kaladin of Tien.
Yeah.
Any small helpless boy.
Going back to this is a fight against Hala. It was a fight against Hala, which was the third fight Kaladin was in, that Tien dies. And so a bit later on in the chapter, when they see the officer, and Kaladin says that's one of Hala's officers.
Okay, so this is kind of like Murtaugh's driving it forward, and then Cody has an additional add-on from the previous. So let me just see.
Chapter moves on. It's just
Okay, so then it talks about all the stuff. Why would
a
he
lot
buy
of people
me?
remind Kaladin of Tien.
Yeah.
Any small helpless boy.
Let's tighten this.
Going back to the this is a fighting against Hala. This is a fighting against Hala. It was a fight against Hala, which was the third fight. Hala, which was the third fight Kaladin was in, that Tien dies.
Okay, that works there. Let's leave that. I do think they talk about that later, so.
Tien dies, and so a bit later on, the chapter when they see the officer and Kaladin says that's one of Hala's officers. He might be the one. He is specifically the last 3 years been hunting for the officer of Hala that killed Tien in front of him. So he's keyed in here. Is like, he's like, this might be the one. He's a little obsessed, and Dalet's trying to calm him down. Be like, it's an officer. Your odds are low. It's the one. Like.
Stream, come back. You can blame it all on me. Stream, come back. Internet. Why do you forsake me? Come on, you can do it. Reconnect. My connection is unstable. The delay is so long. Come on. Catch up. You can do it. It's still saying that I'm live, but man, it does not like my connection. Oh, this is the perfect time actually. Let me just switch. Just fixing my crappy internet. Nothing to worry about. Why, hello there. I've lost my one viewer. I apologize. I'm hoping for a more stable internet connection at this point forward. Thank you for your continued service. For watching. Welcome to the chat. Hi. We're back. We're no longer having technical difficulties. We're back. Here's the internet. You turn it off. You turn it back on. And I've lost my viewer friend, but that's okay. We're back. And we're here. We're gonna keep editing this episode even if nobody's watching me. Where was I?
Might be the one. He is specifically, the last 3 years, been hunting for the officer of Hallett that killed Tien in front of him. So he's keyed in here. Is like, he's like, this might be the one. He's a little obsessed, and Dalet's trying to calm him down. Be like,
welcome back, friend.
It's an
Welcome
officer. Back. Your odds are low. It's the one. Like Haladin's like, nope, we're going for it.
The internet has been reset, and it should be.
It's like, nope, we're going for it.
A little bit more stable. A little bit. Make no promises. I'm a cheap man. I do not pay very much. This is my connection. It's very nice. Very rich.
Your odds are low. It's the one. Like Haladin's like, nope, we're going for it.
Right. Yeah, I almost overlooked that. Right. Yeah, I almost overlooked that. There is a revenge.
No. Are we still going? What's going on here? Come on. Are we live? Do you see this? Oh, just assume I'm live.
He gets the job done. But so you see this as part of his obsession with this. He's learned.
Alright, let's get back to it. We're back.
Appetite there.
He gets
A bit ironic. I was just touting about how very nice my internet connection is.
your odds.
It's not very nice there.
Right. Yeah, I almost overlooked that. There is a revenge. Appetite there.
That makes more sense for him to laugh after he says that.
Appetite there.
He gets the job done. But so you see this as part.
Getting a secret sneaky in there. Let's get you out of there. You don't need to be in there. Let's just get you out of there. What are you playing at? We'll fade in.
He gets the job done. So you see this as part of his obsession with this. He's learned Hellish strategies. He's learned this. He's learned. He's obsession with this. He's learned Hellish strategies. He understands how he works, so he's prepared to dodge the volley arrows. We see him commenting a couple different. We see him commenting a couple different points on his strategy, and that's part of why he's able to so well predict this battle and know where to move, as he's intimately familiar with their opponent.
Right.
Although you also do see a little bit here, which, granted, the lines have fallen into complete chaos almost as soon as both charges start. But you... multiple charges start. But you do also catch hints of while Kaladin can be very smart in battle and he can be tactically smart when it comes to protecting his own men and meeting his own objectives, he can overlook the needs of the army to a degree. So, like, you know, his group immediately rushes out, does something completely different than everyone else. It's just, he's like, I'm gonna do what it takes for my men to survive and for us to get elevated. And, you know, in this case, it doesn't really have much consequence because the whole battlefield is just pure chaos, and it's just two Bright Lords letting their peons stab each other to death. And don't really care. You know, it's kind of, yeah, meaningless battle, but you see those hints of he does his own thing.
Right. Do you think, Cody, like, I know that Kaladin's
got a double whammy there. Fantastic.
Right.
Double whammy.
He does his own thing. Right. Do you think, Cody, like, I know that Kaladin's going in an effort to protect and possibly revenge when he sees the officer in that, but they're trained. Do you think there's an element to the thrill being involved in how quickly supposedly these Alethi soldiers just disperse and go in a mad, chaotic melee?
I remember this from last night. It's like it was just yesterday that I listened to this.
Quickly, supposedly these Alethi soldiers just disperse and go in a mad, chaotic melee.
Potentially.
Found you. So just to reiterate, we are hunting through, finding any ums, any
potentially,
us.
But I also think a lot of it comes down to these are not very well trained men. Like, these are.
And we will also be evaluating along the way what things we want to keep in the episode and what things we are going to get rid of.
A lot of it comes down to these are not very well trained men. Like, they're not trying, they're not, you know, as they put it, all the good soldiers are in the Shattered Plains. These are the dregs. These are
the rabble.
The rebel.
Rabble.
Oh, he says the. I'm not gonna leave it in there. Too much effort.
That aren't good enough. To do that, and
right.
As we see with
Get this all looking nice. Get you out of here. Get rid of that page turning.
Do that, and
right.
As we see with Tien and Kaladin, they'll throw. If you can hold a throw, they'll throw. If you can hold a spear, they'll chuck you out there and expect you to go die honorably.
Right, right. Good point.
Okay, so it looks like this is the end of this section. This is all relatively on topic. It flowed pretty nicely from this, short little conversation after the read-in. So I'm actually going to merge these points, I think, at this point. Let me just make sure that this connection...
Yeah, it doesn't take him long. He's a natural fighter. He's lucky. He's Stormblast. Chapter moves on. It's just...
the pacing might need a slight bit more of a pause there, so... Instead, but we'll do a quick... We'll just highlight everything. Come back over here. Give ourselves a tiny little bit of room there. Not a ton. Don't need a lot of room. I spend a lot of time getting rid of silences. I don't need to make too many extra ones. But we will, in fact, generate some silence right here. Less than a second of it. But it makes all the difference sometimes.
He's lucky. He's Stormblast. Chapter moves...
Even then, needs ever so slightly more. So we'll also just shift this over a little bit.
Is the best.
Yeah, it doesn't take him long. He's a natural fighter. He's lucky. He's Stormblast. Chapter moves on.
There we go.
It's
That
just
sounds a bit better.
Sen being terrified.
Okay. Yep, I like that. I like this is a good first chunk of a section. It's mostly edited. I've got almost all the ums and uhs, but I'll still do a final comb, and that's 4 minutes right there. 4 minutes and 18 seconds of something that's probably going to end up staying in the episode. So it's good to kind of just keep tabs of that along the way. I talk a lot about trimming and getting it lower and lower. I'm not always aiming for a specific time amount. I like it to be between 25 to 30 minutes if it can be, but I won't inhibit it from being longer if the content is there. It just so happens that, more often than not, that's about how much time is left over. So if we take that into consideration, we've got 4 minutes right there. In addition to what's before it, we've got 38 minutes left. There's not a ton that I will probably want to cut out if you're in bulk. A lot of that time saving will be from reducing the silences between sentences or whatever. But there will be a good amount in here that will account for the rest of that time going down. So just good to kind of keep stock, and we've got, again, a good first beat here in terms of discussion about the read-in, how it relates to the beginning of the chapter, and starting to dive a little bit deeper into kind of the underlying themes. So let's see what's next.
Throughout here, I don't know, I'm just moving through the chapter.
Chuck you out there and expect you to go die honorably.
Right, right. Good point.
Okay, so he says good point, and then
throughout here,
so we've got a little
here, I don't know. Throughout here, I don't.
Let's get rid of that. Give this cheeky little fade in. Oops. Ever so slightly. There we go.
Throughout here, I don't know, I'm just moving through the chapter.
That's an
after the mad dash. I'm just moving through the chapter after the mad dash. Kaladin's group. Engages a lot.
A little bit of hesitation there.
Engages a lot of groups that are bigger than his, and it just works because of their training and formations. You see the first signs of Kaladin's
Hate when they sneak those uhs in there like that. Can't easily get rid of them. That one's gonna have to stay. Sorry, man.
surgeon background, because almost all of his squad is able to bandage themselves.
Let's clean that up a little bit.
Surgeon background,
From right here.
because almost all of his squad, because all background, almost all of his squad is able to bandage themselves after taking wounds. I mean, how often can a soldier do that? But just all around.
And let's just get rid of that.
Just all around, basically showing Kaladin off the bat to be, I don't know, a badass without any flaws yet. Chapter 1, here you go. Here's Kaladin Stormblast.
Man of music, using the beating of his shield to direct his music, using the Man of music, using the beating of his shield to direct his squad, elaborate signals, and that shows that he trains them very well, trains them hard, and we'll see this be a reoccurring theme as he builds Bridge 4 later on.
He's a leader, and he's still willing to He's a leader, and he's still willing to be one at this point.
I think a lot of the times, with Windrunners, a lot of the focus gets thrown on that they are, they're protectors and stuff. But Jezrien was also leadership. He was considered the greatest leader, and that's why he was king of the heralds, because he came to teach leadership. That was he came. Heralds, because he came to teach leadership. That was a skill Jezrien would teach, and so you see Kaladin not only is a protector, he is a leader. He is a leader, and he
A leader of men.
And he wants to teach others to be good leaders and instill good leadership quality. So he's the bona fide. He's the bona fide all-around package.
All-around package.
All-around package.
Definitely.
So they stack up on this hill and defend it for about an hour, I believe, and then
Alright, just before I move on, gotten through that pretty long section. That's about only just over a minute.
Throughout here, I don't know,
Yeah, it's a good segue. I think that this is a good connection bridge towards the next section. So let's see what's going on here.
So they stack up on this hill.
Who's clicking there? Get out of here. Let's just realign this. Make it perfect.
So they stack up on this hill. And defend it for about an hour, I believe, and then things start to fall apart. And because they've been doing so well, Sen realizes suddenly that it's fallen apart around them, and that this battle is being lost where they are. So they start the retreat toward
Got an extra "the" in there. Heard you. Nice try.
The retreat towards another.
Nice try.
Another group of Amaram's soldiers, and it's at this point Sen gets separated from the rest of the group
Gonna have to wake up earlier for me to not catch that
in the chaos, and he kind of panics and blindly runs towards the first
Go away.
The first Alethi he thinks he sees, which, spoiler, everyone here is an Alethi, so it doesn't work out very well for him.
Always love a good laugh.
Yes. Sen is separated.
Got two Sens there.
Sen is separated and is guess you say, cornered by 6 other spearmen and Kaladin saves him from that, which is kind of ridiculous, but I guess that's another sign of how untrained these spearmen are.
My read.
Alright. That's another short section. Just double check. I broke it off for a reason. You always have to remember that. They've done it for a reason. That's under a minute. And that is...
Package.
Definitely.
So they stack up on.
It's a natural segue. Congratulations. You're no longer separated. You're now a single section of audio. So this little section's getting bigger. Gotten it to just over 2 minutes. Let's see what this next section is.
I've been puzzling over this in my reading and preparing for this. So Kaladin, another way he bucks the system is he has a spear that's a little bit.
Oh yeah, this is the knife spear. All right, man, this knife spear. I tried to make a knife spear last night when I was listening to this, and didn't really make a lot of sense. But I think that this was something I was liberally planning to cut. Let me just make sure I haven't.
I'm trying to.
I'm sure there's someone out there that'd be like, well, clearly the strap is right here and it's right where he holds his hand. I don't know, but
we get our first look of Kaladin in full action. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying about this action is one person can't fight 6 people and win.
Hang on. All right, so let's listen to the end of his sentence over here again.
That's another sign of how untrained these spearmen are. I guess you say cornered by 6 other spearmen, and Kaladin saves him from that, which is kind of ridiculous.
So he says it's ridiculous, and then...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about this act.
Yep, conversation does continue. I think this little anecdote is probably going to go. It's a silly little one, but again, I've got the backup, and if I change my mind, it can go back in, and that's, the end of that. But you got to make these kind of calls sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that conversation. But at the same time, if the episode works better without it, who am I?
Yeah, we get our first. Our first look of
He says the word first.
Look of Kaladin in full action and
So quiet.
Full action and
yeah, that's what I'm saying about this action is one person can't fight 6 people and win unless they're I mean, I don't see a situation where that can happen with spears and 6 people and win unless I mean, I don't see a situation where that can happen with spears and stuff, but obviously I'm not fighting people hand to hand with edged weapons, but this seems unrealistic.
Unrealism
This seems
in my
unrealistic.
fantasy
And
novel.
they must be terrified
there's
and
the
badly
door.
trained.
yeah.
See yourself out of the chat room and out that door. And I only want realistic fantasy novels. Realism only.
And they must be terrified and badly trained.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure Kaladin's also bringing a level of confidence and aggression to it that, yeah.
Unrealistic in a magical story, but there's no
Oh, fuck, he says that. Here I am ripping on it, and he makes the same exact joke.
magical story, but there's no magic yet.
I'm going to read this line here from Sen's perspective here.
It's almost like I listened to this last night and forgot that I knew that was coming. Whatever.
When had Kaladin grabbed the knife? He spun between the last two.
Okay, so this is a read-in. I'm going to skip read-ins as far as actually editing because I added the reading sections a little bit differently than I edit everything else. I usually pull them off onto their own separate audio track. So anywhere where I've marked a reading section, we're going to skip for now because obviously it's most likely going to stay. We're not going to have like reading sections every 5 minutes, but I'll come back to that. But again, actually, let's take a little stock of that, how that end section ended up looking. So before that we had this good 4-minute 18-second intro sequence, and then we've got a bit of extrapolation into the chapter for about, let's make this perfectly aligned so I can snap to it. There we go. And that's 2 minutes 37 seconds. Again, that's in total almost 7 minutes solid. That's 7, 14, 21, 28, a fourth of the episode right there. Not bad at all. We press forward.
Yeah.
He has this moment, and then
I'll listen to the read-in just so I know what the next.
When had
section is.
Kaladin grabbed the knife? He spun between the last two, his spear a blur, wielding it like a quarterstaff. For a moment, Sin thought, he could see something surrounding the squad leader. A warping of the air, like the wind itself, become visible.
Ah, the magic.
Yeah.
He has this moment, and then he dismisses it as he's losing too much blood and he's just imagining things.
Imagery.
But yeah, here we see why Kaladin wears pants, where he goes to bandage Sin's stabbed leg.
Now see here, that's what we hear in the business call a callback. And he's done a slight callback to something I've cut. If you didn't know it was there, probably doesn't matter. Why would you think anything of the fact that he's deliberately pointing out the wearing the pants part? That was part of the original conversation thing.
Imagery.
But yeah, here we see why Kaladin wears pants, where he goes to bandage Sin's stabbed leg.
I think it's fine. I think it still works fine. Get that out of there. I think it still works. But again, in the final cut, if I'm like, oh, it really needs it for the callback about the pants, I'll just fucking stick it back in there. It's easy. I also don't like how this one little section has a super high peak here. I'm just gonna normalize that down a little bit. There we go. I like that much better.
Kaladin wears pants, where he goes to bandage Sin's stabbed leg, and he has bandages in his pockets. So I like to imagine he doesn't just have pants; he's got like cargo pants. He's got pockets all the way down.
Yeah, some thick pants. Well, there's a lot of sharp things around.
What do sharp things have to do with pants?
Sharp things around. It's not just pockets.
So then we finally reach where he sees the officer, and Sin mistakes him for a shard bearer, being a sheltered shepherd. Shepherd, seeing someone in full fancy armor for the first time.
Yeah, which is surely impressive itself. Yeah.
So
yeah, which is surely impressive itself. Yeah.
So Kaladin's.
Don't need that extra. Yeah, we'll just tighten that here. Now this is post-read section, so I think that I will.
It's not just pockets.
So then we finally reach where he sees.
So then we
finally reach.
We again. Gonna cut this like this. Will it sound good?
So then we finally reach.
No, doesn't sound good there. Let's get rid of this and then move you over here. Let's see if that sounds good.
So then we finally reach where he sees
Yeah,
the
good.
officer, and Sin mistakes him for a shard bearer. Him for a shard bearer, being a sheltered shepherd, seeing someone in full fancy armor for the first time.
Which is surely impressive itself. Yeah.
So Kaladin's I think honestly fueled by revenge.
Okay, so back to the revenge. This is all kind of like a good exploratory moment of that whole fight scene.
I think honestly fueled by revenge, but is trying to convince himself that, it's also, that we kill this guy, we'll finally get that promotion. Senpai will.
Okay. Here's a big moment. We're gonna leave this in. It's a classic Cody quip. He's got plenty of them in here. I don't want to, limit Cody quips, but
Senpai will notice me.
I don't know if I want that. I don't have anything against animes, but I don't really watch a lot of anime, and that's a little bit of a meme. It's a little bit on the nose for the meminess.
We'll finally get that promotion. Senpai will note.
I think it's funnier without it. I don't know.
Senpai will notice me, and
Yeah,
we'll make it big.
I think it's funnier without it. I think his setup about, making it big, I think that's funnier than the senpai thingy or whatever. Call me
That
crazy.
promotion will make it big. They'll get to go to a war camp with discipline and Light Eyes with integrity. A place where the fight will mean something.
Professional soldiery, yeah. The big leagues.
So they
Big League Chew.
The big leagues.
raise the
There's a little click there at the end. Who's that?
The big leagues.
Fade out.
The big leagues.
So they
Handful.
raise the red streamer,
Got a couple of those in there.
raise the red red streamer to summon the wounded carriers, the runners, which we see here once again that Kaladin pretty much spends all of his money bribing people to protect his
tight.
people to protect his men, other to get them off the
A sneaky little there. Nice one.
other to get them off the battlefield sooner, to get them priority with the medics, to get medical supplies, to buy boys like Sen. He's very selfless with his money.
Yeah, of course.
When?
With his, this one. He's very selfless with his money.
Yeah, of course. He's always.
Gotta get out of here.
Money.
Yeah, of course. He's always part surgeon. He's always part. That's. Yeah, of course. He's always part surgeon. Yeah, I think you all remind him of. Then we have our first view of a shard bearer in chapter 1. What did you think, Sharp?
So there was this discussion about what they thought shard plate looked like for real. Let's see. I think this was another potential chopping block.
Yeah, definitely more.
Let's see. I don't think I'm gonna keep the. Let's see.
This time Sen sees this shard bearer.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is this first sentence. Perfect segue.
Yeah, I think you all remind him of someone.
Not that one.
Then we have our first.
Get rid of that
Then we have our.
big sigh. Give it a sneaky little fade in. Nothing too dramatic. Pull this all the way back over here.
Then we have our first view of a shard bearer in chapter 1.
And then all this is out of here. Ooh, that's gonna feel good. How much was that we just deleted? Ooh, almost 2 full minutes. Can't beat that. You cannot beat that. Oh yeah. I guess you could if it was 3 minutes, but it's all about making it nice and tight. All right, let's see.
With his money.
Yeah, of course. He's always part surgeon. Then we have our first view of a shard bearer in chapter 1.
But yeah, this time Sen sees this shard bearer and he doesn't like. He's like, man, I was. How could I have ever thought that? How could I? Shard bearer and he doesn't like. He's like, man, sees this shard bearer and he doesn't like. He's like,
makes a bit more sense, but let's see if this flows.
Sees this shard bearer and he's like, man, I was. How could I have ever?
Man,
I was.
Don't eat that.
How could I have ever thought that?
One more time.
Bearer and he's like, man, how could I have ever thought? Man,
We don't even need that man. Can get that out too. Done. Too much air.
Sees this shard bearer and he's like, how could I have ever thought that guy in normal armor was a shard bearer? It's just so impressive. I know we hear about it later in the book. We hear about it. I know impressive. I know we hear about it later in the book. Actually, I think it would be book 2 that we really start to hear about it, but that a lot of common soldiers die. I know we hear about it later in the book. Actually, I think that a lot of common soldiers die.
Extra soul in there.
Soul.
Get out of there.
A lot of common soldiers die to shard bearers. Just by the simple fact that they've never seen it before, and it's so beautiful and awe-inspiring, they're just dumbstruck and pretty much just stand still and put up no resistance. Pretty much just put up and just get taken out because it's such a thing to behold.
Yeah, I mean, that is a thing you need to be. Yeah, I mean, that is a thing.
Got an extra that? Oh.
That
out of here.
That is a thing you need to be trained to even stand up and have your brain not stand up and have your brain not melt. If it's not awe, it's fear that's getting you.
As he sees the shard bearer coming towards them. Sen finally passes out from the blood loss from his leg wound, and we reach the end of the chapter.
Yep, that's it. Cliffhanger.
Alright, perfect. So this is the end of where they're done talking about chapter 1. Just gonna refresh this split, make it a perfect lineup, because now what's actually probably going to go in the middle here is a little short musical transition in between sections. We'll have this first section about chapter 1, and then the second section even about chapter 2. But it's good just to kind of keep tabs, and now we can go back and see how much content we have specifically about chapter 1, and we can reconnect some of these divides.
And we have our first.
And this is part of this conversation right here. And this is conversation relevant to the read. Rather, hang on, let me see, because the read was actually back here.
And then he dismisses it as he's losing too much blood.
There's a lot of sharp things around. It's not just pockets.
So then we finally reach where he sees the.
Yeah, some thick pants. There's a lot of.
Oh, I think thick pants. That's where that line needs to end.
So then we finally reach where he.
Connect that.
Which is surely impressive itself, yeah.
So Kaladin's, I think, honestly fueled by revenge.
This is all part of the same conversation. Okay, cool. And then let's see at the very end here.
Of course, he's always part surgeon. Then we have our first view of a...
Yeah, may as well. And then how did this connect over
Surely
here?
impressive itself, yeah.
So Kaladin's, I think, honestly fueled by revenge.
Big pants.
So then we could see something surrounding this.
Alright, so this will be the entire... Oopsie. Oh, let's go back to where we were. Right here. This is the read-in.
Had Kaladin grab the knife.
And this is the post-read.
Yeah.
He has this moment, and then this.
So, part 1 is all of this. So we've got words for the intro song, first section. Second section, literal introduction of Cody and Murtaugh and the idea for the episode. Third section, the read-in for chapter 1. Fourth section, first bits of the discussion about the chapter, kind of diving into a bit of, how they somewhat relate into other things. And then this conversation.
Here, I don't know, I'm just moving through the chapter. After the mad dash, Kaladin.
They start to
Ship. He was considered the greatest leader, and that's why he.
talk a little bit about the heralds in this one. They talk about, give a little bit of backstory for Kaladin's powers and some of his alignment, so to speak. And then
Unrealistic and a magical.
flows into this next section of a reading.
Kaladin grabbed the knife.
And that takes us through the chapter. So right here.
That's it. Cliffhanger.
So I'm going to create, like I've been doing before, I'm going to shift all of this chapter 10 part over by, let's say, so it's at 12:55. Go. Oopsie. Not like that. Not like this. Like this. Shift this all ever so slightly by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds for now. I mean, that's where I will put a musical transition later on, so I can shift it over a little bit more at that point. So nothing to be concerned about. Let's just have that exactly at. There we go. Perfect. And we'll have this cut exactly at 55, which will shift everything else back over. Whatever. That's fine. Ooh, there we go. So, internet issues notwithstanding, we've again hit about the 2-hour mark as far as this editing stuff. It's the humble hour of midnight, and I have 21 minutes left to review. I probably will call it quits, but if you look back to what used to also be its own 20 minutes, we've got 12 minutes and 55 seconds right there of the podcast done. We've got, likely another 15 minutes just waiting to be edited in here. It's going to look great. It's going to sound great. We're going to get rid of the jokes that don't work from my perspective, I suppose. But more importantly, we're just going to make the podcast the best version of itself that it can be. Or whatever. But, yeah, so I guess I'll probably do this again tomorrow so I can finish up this darn episode so it can go out in 2 days. Oh god, I didn't realize the 20th's on Saturday. Oh, I gotta get back ahead of the game. Oh, I gotta get back ahead of editing. I can't be editing on the seat of my pants like this for this release schedule. But that being said, it was the perfect training opportunity for these little sessions on twitch.tv and or on YouTube when it gets put there after the fact. So let's go ahead and save our work. Save early, save often. Don't lose anything precious. And yeah, that's the stream for today. Farewell. Thank you for joining me for however long you chose to stay, and bye.